You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not incapable of peace. You're just thinking too much. And not because you want to, but because your mind never learned how to stop. It replays conversations that already ended. It predicts futures that haven't happened. It magnifies small moments into massive threats. It turns silence into noise. And the worst, next part of the audiobook? The harder you try to control your thoughts, the louder they become. This audiobook is not about forcing your mind to shut up. It's about understanding why it talks so much and how to finally quiet it without fighting yourself. In this audiobook, Why You Think Too Much, Stop Overthinking Everything, you will learn why overthinking feels automatic, why your brain mistakes thought for safety, and how to exit the mental loops that drain your energy, your confidence, and your peace. Here's the truth most people never hear. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's untrained awareness. And awareness can be trained. By the end of this audiobook, you won't just think less. You'll live more. Before we continue, I want to say, my dear friend, if you are watching this video, then you are definitely on the right track. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments which topic or problem interests you the most. We promise to prepare a professional video explanation at your request. Chapter 1. The Night Your Mind Won't Let You Sleep. It always starts the same way. You lie down, your body is exhausted, your day is over, and suddenly, your mind wakes up. That conversation you thought you were done with. That decision you already made. That mistake you promised yourself you'd forget. Your brain digs them up like unfinished business. Why did I say that? What if I chose wrong? What if they misunderstood me? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? You try to distract yourself. You check your phone. You scroll. You breathe deeper. Nothing works because the mind isn't tired. It's scanning for danger. Your brain doesn't overthink because it enjoys suffering. It overthinks because it believes thinking equals protection. Chapter 2. The Survival Brain. In a modern world, your mind was designed for a very different life. Thousands of years ago, thinking ahead could save your life. If you heard a sound in the dark, analyzing it mattered. If you sensed danger, hesitation could kill you. But today, your brain treats emails like threats, social situations like predators, decisions like life or death events. It reacts to possibility the same way it once reacted to immediate danger. So when nothing is wrong, your mind invents problems, not because it's broken, but because it's bored and trained to search. Chapter 3. Why Overthinking Feels Productive, but Isn't. Here's the trap. Overthinking feels like work. You're not being lazy. You're mentally busy. You're analyzing, preparing, preventing. It feels responsible. But thinking is not the same as moving. And most overthinking produces zero progress. You don't solve the problem. You rehearse it. You don't gain clarity. You gain complexity. You don't feel safer. You feel more tense. Because the mind is looping, not advancing. Thinking without action is emotional quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Chapter 4. The Hidden Cost of Thinking. Too much overthinking doesn't just steal peace. It steals energy, confidence, presence. It makes you hesitate when you should act, doubt when you should decide, second guess when you should trust yourself. It convinces you that certainty is required before movement, but certainty never arrives. So life waits, and eventually moves on without you. Opportunities don't knock louder for overthinkers. They knock once. Chapter 5. Why Your Mind Resists. Silence. Silence feels uncomfortable because your mind is addicted to stimulation. Thoughts create identity. Noise creates familiarity. When the mind slows down, it feels like losing control. So it talks, it narrates, it critiques, it predicts, not to harm you, but to stay in charge. And until you understand that, you'll keep trying to fight the mind instead of leading it. Chapter 6. The Illusion of One Right Answer. Overthinking thrives on a lie. That there is one perfect decision, one flawless response, one correct future. So your mind searches endlessly. But life isn't a test, it's a process. Most decisions are adjustable. Most mistakes are survivable. Most outcomes are not final. Yet your mind treats them as irreversible. That's why it panics. Chapter 7. The moment you realize the truth. Here's the shift. You don't need to stop thoughts. You need to stop believing every thought. A thought is not a command. A thought is not a fact. A thought is not a prophecy. It's just a signal. And not every signal deserves attention. This is where freedom begins. Chapter 8. The first skill of mental calm. Calm is not the absence of thoughts. Calm is the ability to observe without reacting. The moment you stop chasing, correcting, or wrestling your thoughts, they lose power, like a fire without fuel. But this skill must be trained, and most people never learn how, until now. If this next part of the audiobook already resonates with you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what thought have I been rehearsing instead of releasing? And when you're ready, we move into the next part of the audiobook, where you'll learn why trying to fix your thoughts makes overthinking worse, and how to exit the mental spiral without force. Because the quiet you're searching for is closer than you think. Next part of the audiobook. Why trying to stop overthinking makes it worse. The moment you tell your mind, stop thinking, it hears a threat. And like anything threatened, it fights back. Harder thoughts, faster loops, more intensity. This is the paradox no one explains. Resistance feeds repetition. The more you try to control your thoughts, the more important they seem to your brain. Because your brain measures importance by attention. Whatever you fight, you focus on. Whatever you focus on, you amplify. So the real work is not stopping thoughts. It's changing your relationship with them. Chapter 9. The white bear problem. There's a classic experiment. Someone says, "Don't think about a white bear." Instantly, a white bear appears. Your mind doesn't process negatives well. It can't not think about something without thinking about it first. So when you say, "Don't worry, don't overthink, don't panic," your brain translates it as a command to search. Search for worry, search for panic, search for danger, and once found, it holds on. Chapter 10. Why awareness beats willpower. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Willpower is limited. Awareness is not. When you rely on force, you exhaust yourself. When you rely on observation, the system recalibrates on its own. Think of your mind like a restless child. Yelling doesn't calm it. Punishment doesn't teach it safety. But calm presence, that works. When you notice a thought and simply label it, planning, worrying, replaying, you remove the emotional charge. And what loses charge loses control. Chapter 11. The skill of mental labeling. Here is a practice that begins quieting the mind immediately. Not tomorrow, not weeks from now, now. When a thought appears, don't argue with it. Name it. That's a future projection. That's a memory loop. That's fear talking. No judgment, no analysis, just recognition. This separates you from the thought. And separation is freedom. Chapter 12. The difference between thinking and processing. Not all thinking is bad. Processing moves you forward. Overthinking keeps you stuck. Processing ends. Overthinking repeats. Processing asks, what's the next step? Overthinking asks, what if everything goes wrong? One creates clarity. The other creates paralysis. Your goal is not silence. Your goal is completion. Chapter 13. Why unfinished emotions create endless thoughts. Many thoughts persist because emotions were never felt. When you suppress emotion, it leaks through thinking. Unexpressed sadness becomes rumination. Unfelt fear becomes catastrophizing. Unacknowledged anger becomes mental arguments. Thinking is the mind's attempt to finish what emotion started. So instead of thinking more, feel more. Emotion passes when acknowledged. thoughts linger when avoided. Chapter 14. The 90-second rule. Neuroscience reveals something powerful. An emotional surge lasts about 90 seconds if not re-triggered by thought. After that, what you're experiencing isn't emotion, it's memory. Replayed. So when anxiety hits, don't explain it. Don't justify it. Sit with it. Breathe. Let the wave pass. Your mind will follow your body's lead. Chapter 15. The myth of mental readiness. Overthinkers believe they must feel ready before acting. But readiness is a result of action, not a prerequisite. Confidence comes after movement. Clarity comes after engagement. Waiting to feel certain is waiting forever. So move gently, imperfectly. Anyway, Chapter 16. How overthinking steals the present. The mind can only live in 3 places: the past, the future, or now. Overthinking lives everywhere except here, and peace only exists here. Not in resolution, not in certainty, in presence. When you anchor attention in the body, breath, sound, sensation, the mind loses its grip, because it cannot dominate what you're no longer feeding. Chapter 17. The practice of returning your mind will wander. That's not failure, that's practice. Each time you return to breath, to sound, to the moment, you strengthen calm, not by force, by repetition. This is how quiet is built. Chapter 18. The new rule. From this moment forward, replace this question: why am I thinking this? With this one: do I need to engage this right now? If the answer is no, return. If the answer is yes, act. No more spinning, no more rehearsing. Chapter 19. The shift has begun. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them, and the one who chooses where attention rests. In the next part of the audiobook, you'll learn how to interrupt overthinking in real time, especially in moments of anxiety, decision-making, and emotional overload. Because the goal is not a perfect mind, it's a peaceful one. Next part of the audiobook. 3. How to interrupt overthinking in real time. If you appreciate our efforts and our thoughts, subscribe and like this video. We need to show the world that there are many people like us. We must always continue to improve. Overthinking doesn't announce itself politely. It hits you in meetings, in conversations, at night, in moments where you need clarity the most. And if you wait until later to deal with it, it's already won. So this next part of the audiobook is about interruption. Not suppression, not distraction, interruption. Because once you break the loop, the mind resets faster than you think. Chapter 20. The 3-second rule. Overthinking gains power through delay. The moment a thought appears, you have a small window. 3 seconds. In that window you choose, engage, or redirect. If you engage, the loop begins. If you redirect, the loop weakens. This is why speed matters, not force. Speed. Chapter 21. Name, ground, redirect. Here is a simple sequence you can use anywhere. First, name the thought. This is worry. This is future fear. This is replaying. Second, ground the body. Feel your feet. Notice your breath. Press your fingers together. Third, redirect attention to the task, to the environment, to the next physical action. This takes less than 10 seconds, and it works because the brain cannot multitask attention deeply. Chapter 22. Why the body is the exit door. Thoughts live in the mind. Calm lives in the body. So when you're stuck in your head, drop down, breathe slower than usual. Exhale longer than you inhale. Relax your jaw, lower your shoulders. The nervous system listens to posture, not logic. When the body signals safety, the mind quiets. Chapter 23. The question that stops spirals. Ask yourself this: is this thought helping me act right now? Not, is it true? Not, is it important? Helpful. If it's not helping, release it. You don't need to solve your whole life in one sitting. You just need to move one step. Chapter 24. Overthinking versus intuition. Here's how you tell the difference. Intuition is calm. Overthinking is urgent. Intuition is simple. Overthinking is complex. Intuition arrives once. Overthinking repeats. When you hear the same thought again and again, that's not wisdom. That's anxiety. Chapter 25. Decision fatigue and the thinking trap. The more choices you face, the more your mind spins. This is why overthinking explodes at night. Your mental energy is gone. So the solution isn't better thinking. It's fewer decisions. Simplify routines, standardize choices, reduce options. Clarity loves simplicity. Chapter 26. Why overthinkers struggle with trust. At the core of overthinking is mistrust. Mistrust in outcomes, mistrust in others, mistrust in yourself. So the mind compensates by planning everything, but control is not trust, and trust cannot be thought into existence. It's built through experience, which requires action. Chapter 27. The later list. Technique. When a thought won't let go, don't fight it. Postpone it. Tell yourself, I'll think about this tomorrow at 3 p.m. Write it down if needed. Most thoughts lose urgency when they're scheduled. And when tomorrow comes, you often realize it never mattered. Chapter 28. How overthinking feeds on stillness. Stillness without presence becomes rumination. That's why walking helps, cleaning helps, movement helps, not because they distract, but because they re-anchor attention. You don't need more silence, you need intentional presence. Chapter 29. The identity shift. Stop saying, I'm an overthinker. That's not an identity. That's a habit. And habits change. From now on, say, I'm learning to quiet my mind. Learning implies progress, and progress changes everything. Chapter 30. What comes next? You now know how to interrupt overthinking. But there's a deeper layer, because some thoughts don't just loop, they cling. In the next part of the audiobook, we'll explore why certain worries refuse to leave, and how to release them without forcing closure. This is where lasting calm is built. Next part of the audiobook. Why certain thoughts refuse to let go. Some thoughts don't fade when ignored. They return, again and again. Different words, same feeling. And this is where many people give up, because they think, if I were doing this right, this thought wouldn't still be here. But here's the truth. Persistent thoughts are not problems. They are messages. Not messages about the future. Messages about something unresolved inside you. Chapter 31. The difference between noise and signal. Most thoughts are noise. Random, habitual, automatic. But the thoughts that keep returning, those are signals. They point to unmet needs, unexpressed boundaries, unprocessed emotions. If you try to silence a signal, it gets louder. Because its job is not to annoy you, it's to get your attention. Chapter 32. Why closure is a myth. Overthinkers chase closure. One final explanation, one last analysis, one perfect understanding. But closure doesn't come from thinking. It comes from acceptance. Acceptance that some answers arrive late, or never, and that life still moves forward anyway. When you stop demanding resolution, the mind relaxes. Chapter 33. The loop of what if. What if questions feel intelligent, but they are endless. What if I fail? What if I'm wrong? What if I regret this? There is no finish line, so the solution is not answering what if, it's replacing it. With this question, if this goes imperfectly, can I handle it? Almost always, the answer is yes. And confidence returns. Chapter 34. Emotional truth versus mental explanation. Please like and subscribe if you want a better future. A better future for your children, your family, and yourself. It's very difficult to achieve success today, but I'm sure you'll succeed. All you have to do is learn and discover new things. Sometimes you understand something logically, but emotionally, It hasn't landed. That's when thoughts repeat. Because logic speaks to the brain, emotion speaks to the nervous system. Until both are aligned, the mind keeps circling. So instead of explaining more, ask, what am I feeling underneath this thought? Name it, sit with it, let it exist without solving it. This is how thoughts finally release. Chapter 35. Why forgiveness quietens the mind. Unforgiven moments stay loud. Unsaid words, unacknowledged hurt, unreleased resentment. Your mind replays them hoping for a different ending, but the ending changes only when you change your relationship to it. Forgiveness is not approval. It's disengagement, and disengagement creates silence. Chapter 36. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Some thoughts are stored in the body. Tight chest, clenched jaw, restless stomach. Thinking won't release them. Movement will. Stretching, walking, breathing deeply. When the body lets go, the mind follows. Chapter 37. The trap of mental self-improvement. Ironically, trying too hard to fix your mind can become another obsession. Tracking thoughts, judging progress, monitoring calm. This keeps attention on the mind, but peace arrives when attention shifts outward. To life, to action, to presence. You don't think your way into calm. You live your way into it. Chapter 38. The letting go practice. When a thought returns, try this. Instead of pushing it away, say, I see you. You can be here. I don't need to engage you. Then, return to what you're doing. This removes resistance, and what is not resisted eventually dissolves. Chapter 39. Trust is the final release. The deepest overthinking comes from one fear. What if I can't handle what comes next? So let this land. You have handled everything so far. Even when you didn't feel ready, even when you felt overwhelmed, you adapted. That's evidence, and evidence builds trust. Chapter 40. The shift, before the breakthrough. At this stage, something changes. Thoughts still appear, but they no longer grip. You notice more space, more pauses, more choice. In the next part of the audiobook, we'll talk about how to build a quiet mind as a daily habit. So calm becomes your baseline, not a temporary state. This is where peace stops being occasional and starts being normal. Next part of the audiobook. How to build a quiet mind as a daily baseline. Calm is not a personality trait. It's a practice. And like any practice, what you do once helps briefly. What you do daily rewires you. Most people experience calm accidentally. After a vacation, after exhaustion, after everything finally goes right. But a quiet mind is meant to be trained, not waited for. This party is about building a mental environment where overthinking no longer thrives. Chapter 41. Why your mind needs structure. An unstructured mind fills space with noise. If your day has no anchors, your thoughts become the schedule. That's when rumination takes over. So the first step toward calm is rhythm. Wake times, movement times, work blocks, rest windows. Structure doesn't restrict freedom, it creates safety. And safety quiets the mind. Chapter 42. Morning thoughts. Set the tone. The first hour of your day programs the rest. If you begin with stimulation, notifications, news, noise, your nervous system enters reaction mode, and once activated, it stays there. Instead, start with presence, silence, breath, light movement. Even 5 minutes of intentional calm lowers mental noise for hours. Chapter 43. The practice of mental minimalism. Your mind processes what you feed it. Endless content equals endless thinking. So be selective. Fewer opinions, less comparison, more depth. Consume what nourishes, eliminate what agitates. A cluttered input creates a cluttered mind. Chapter 44. The power of single tasking. Overthinking thrives on fragmentation, multiple tabs, multiple tasks, multiple conversations. Your brain never finishes anything, so it keeps everything open. Single tasking closes loops. One task, one focus, one moment. Completion is calming. Chapter 45. Why writing empties the mind. Thoughts repeat when they have nowhere to go. So give them an exit. Write them down, not to solve, to release. Once written, the mind no longer needs to hold them. This is not journaling for insight. It's dumping for relief. Chapter 46. The evening reset. You cannot think clearly when you're tired. So create an ending ritual. Lower lights, slow movements, minimal stimulation. Tell your nervous system, it's safe to shut down. Sleep is not a luxury for overthinkers. It's medicine. Chapter 47. When overthinking returns. It will. That's not failure. That's being human. The difference now is response. Instead of panic, you say, "Oh, this again," and you return. No drama, no judgment. Consistency beats intensity. Chapter 48. Calm is built, not achieved. You don't arrive at calm. You practice it. Some days will be quiet, some won't. What matters is not perfection. It's returning. Returning to breath. Returning to body. Returning to now. Chapter 49. The identity of a calm thinker. At some point, something shifts. You no longer say, "I need to stop overthinking." You say, "I know how to return to calm." That's identity. And identity changes behavior effortlessly. Chapter 50. The new normal peace is not dramatic. It's subtle. It feels like space, like steadiness, like trust. And once experienced, you protect it. In the next part of the audiobook, we'll bring everything together and talk about how to live from this place permanently, even when life gets messy. Because calm is not about controlling life. It's about staying centered within it. Next part of the audiobook. Living with a quiet mind in a loud world. The world will not slow down for you. Notifications will keep buzzing. People will keep demanding. Life will keep presenting uncertainty. So the real question is not whether noise exists. It's whether you still need to carry it inside. A quiet mind is not created by isolation. It's created by internal boundaries. Chapter 51. You don't need to react to everything. Most overthinking begins with reflex. A message arrives. Your mind races. A comment lands. Your emotions spike. A problem appears. Your thoughts scatter. But reaction is optional. You are allowed to pause. That pause, even one breath, changes everything. Chapter 52. The power of delayed response. Dear viewer, please write in the comments what interested you most in the video. This will help us improve our videos. Speed is not strength. Clarity is. When you delay response, you give your nervous system time to settle. And when your nervous system settles, your thoughts simplify. Not every message deserves an immediate answer. Not every thought deserves engagement. Silence is a response. Chapter 53. Boundaries are mental, not just external. You don't just set boundaries with people. You set them with information, with thoughts, with emotions. Ask yourself, is this worth my mental energy? If not, step back. Mental boundaries are what protect peace long term. Chapter 54. How to stay calm. During uncertainty. Uncertainty is the ultimate trigger for overthinking. So stop asking, how do I eliminate uncertainty? Instead ask, how do I stay steady inside it? The answer is grounding. Breath, movement, attention to what's real right now. Your mind cannot panic when your body feels safe. Chapter 55. The practice of letting life be imperfect. Overthinking is perfectionism in disguise. Wanting the right answer, the right outcome, the right timing, but life is not optimized, it's experienced. When you allow imperfection, your mind relaxes, because it no longer has to manage everything. Chapter 56. Trust is the end of overthinking. At the deepest level, overthinking is a lack of trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your adaptability. Trust in your ability to recover. So build evidence, Act, adjust, learn. Confidence grows from movement, not contemplation. Chapter 57. When the mind goes quiet. At first, silence feels strange, almost empty. You may even feel bored. That's normal. Your mind was used to stimulation, but beneath that boredom is peace, and beneath that peace is presence. Chapter 58. Presence is the real goal, not happiness, not positivity. Presence, being where you are without narrating it, without fixing it, just living. This is where life actually happens. Chapter 59. The return is the practice. You will drift. You will overthink again. And each time you return, without judgment, without frustration, that return is success. Chapter 60. The quiet you were looking for. The quiet you've been chasing was never in answers. It was in allowing thoughts to pass without following them. You were never meant to silence the mind. You were meant to stop being ruled by it. In the next and final part of the audiobook, we'll close this journey and anchor everything you've learned into a way of living that lasts. Because calm is not an escape. It's a foundation. Next part of the audiobook. When overthinking meets real life. At this point in the audiobook, something important has happened. You no longer believe that overthinking is your personality. You no longer see it as a permanent flaw. You recognize it for what it is, a habit built under pressure. And habits change, not through force, but through application. Because the real test of a quiet mind is not what happens in silence, it's what happens in life. Chapter 61. Overthinking in conversations. This is where many people struggle most. You're talking, but your mind is already reviewing what you just said. Did that sound stupid? Did they misunderstand me? Should I explain more? So you stop listening. And the moment you stop listening, overthinking takes control. Here's the shift. Presence beats performance. When you stay with the other person, their words, their tone, their energy, your mind has no space to spiral. Listening is the antidote to self-conscious thinking. And if this audiobook helped you, anchor it. Leave a comment with one sentence. The thought pattern I am no longer following is subscribe, not for motivation, but for mastery. And if you know someone whose mind never rests, share this with them, because calm is not rare, it's just rarely taught. End.